previously spoke on the phone. I am a local state underwriter out here locally, and as well nationally. I help a ton of families with their traditional life insurance, their final expense planning, mortgage protection. I also specialize in retirement planning and asset preservation. Now, most of the families that I help out, so that is basically my credibility right there. The credibility is going through that starting phase where I say, here's who I am. This is what I do. I help out a ton of people. That's the kind of verbiage I'm saying. Most people, help out a lot of people. That gives you that immediate credibility that you need in the home with the client. Now I transition from that. I'm going right into the why. Once I get credibility by saying those things, I'm going right into the why. Right? I'm not wasting too much time talking about their dog, their cats, how beautiful their home is. So we want to find out, what direction does the client want to go? And a great way to find out the why is by asking the question. So I'm going to ask the client, well, most of the clients that I help out on a day-to-day basis, they have the same major three concerns, Betty. Number one is, a lot of families want to make sure that if they passed away, if something happens to them today, that the basics are covered for their family. Meaning they want to make sure their families don't have to come out thousands of dollars just to cover their burial cost. So what most families choose to do is make sure that that is already taken care of. That's the number one concern we see from a lot of families. Number two, Betty, would be that, like a lot of us, we have a few people in our lives that depend on our income, depend on our ability to earn money. So what most families choose to do, Betty, is they want to make sure that if they passed away today, if they died today, of course their income stops forever. They want to make sure that some sort of income continues to go to their family month in, month out, to at least guarantee a roof over their head and food on the table for their families. And then the number three concern for a lot of families, Betty, is that, they say, well, I have all of those things taken care of. I just want to be able to leave a legacy, leave something as a gift for my family. Maybe I'm spending, $50 a week on candy, pizza, and wings. I would rather put that money into a policy that ultimately gives my family better return. So, Betty, out of those three reasons, what would you say your main concern is? She's going to answer me, that is the why. That is, now you have a direction of where you're going for your appointment. Now, the key thing here is, you don't just get that answer and run. You want to dwell here for another 2 to 5 minutes. So a client says the number one reason is the main concern. They just want to cover their burial cost because, that's important to them. I'm going to say, okay, Betty, well, let me ask you this. If you died today, tomorrow morning, who's most responsible for picking up the pieces? And I keep quiet. And that silence is what you want. You want that kind of silence with the client, because it paints the right picture for them. The picture they should have been seeing their whole life. That if they don't take care of this, that one person is the person that has to pick up those pieces. So, they say, well, it's my daughter, Anne. Okay, perfect. Now, is Anne local or is she out of state? Well, she's in Tennessee, and we're currently in Florida, so she's in Tennessee. Okay, perfect. So Anne would probably have to fly in, take off work, fly in over here to handle all of this stuff? Yes. So that's, again, another weapon we have to show the client and say, hey, listen, this is what it looks like for Anne. She has to take off work, she has to fly in. That's why it's important to ask those questions. So the next step of your appointment is the process where we're telling them, here's what it looks like. Guys, this is part of control in a home. This is part of leadership in a home. You want to tell them up front, here's what we're going to do today. A good way I say that is, okay, Betty, so what we do today is very, very simple. I am a state underwriter and a broker, so I work with a ton of different insurance carriers. So my job is very simple. We have two objectives. Number one is to find something that, for one, you can get approved for. Because without the approval, you don't have any insurance to buy. So we have to find something that we can help you get approved for today. Does that make sense? They say yes. The second objective, which is very important to me, is that whatever we do today, it has to be something that fits within your budget long term. Does that make sense? A lot of the times they say yes, and you can actually feel the pressure leave their shoulders, because of course they want something that fits within their budget. So once you go through those two things, hey, here are the two objectives that I have today for you. You're able to set the tone for the appointment. And then I'm going to get into it and say, well, what it looks like is I'm going to ask you a few questions medically. I'm going to ask you a few financial questions, because I need to know what it looks like for Anne. Mary, if you dropped dead today, I need to understand what it looks like for your daughter if something happens to you today. Does that make sense? She says yes. Once we get that full picture, I'm going to be able to shop around for you, take a look at some different options, and find you the best carrier that gives you the best chance of being approved today. Now, the way it works, Mary, is I'm going to help you apply for the coverage once we find something that you can get approved for and something that fits within your budget. Unfortunately, I'm not the insurance company, so I cannot approve or decline you. It's up to the insurance company. Once we go through that, we're going to apply for it. It could take them a couple days, up to 2 weeks, to approve or decline you. If they decline you, don't worry. I'm going to revisit and help you with a few different other companies that I work with. If they approve you, you're good to go. You're locked in and you're loaded. You're covered. Does that make sense? They say yes. And then immediately at this point, you transition into your financial inventory sheet.